Tyler Herro has a grade 2 ankle strain. Not the best news, but definitely not the worst. And the Heat will be without Herro for most of November. But just how important has Tyler been for Miami's offense this season? And who is most likely to step up in his absence? We break it all down in today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg. Joining me as always, it's David Ramil. However, you're tuning in on YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app. Thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. We're talking about Tyler Herro today. He was diagnosed with a grade 2 right ankle sprain and will be in a walking boot for 10 days and reevaluated in about 2 weeks. We'll get to Herro's impact on the Heat's offense and who needs to step up to replace him. But starting with the injury, considering how bad it looked at the time, David, this feels like good news.
Oh, no doubt. I think we got the best news possible, even immediately after the game when we heard from Eric Spoelstra that x-rays were negative and came back clean, in his words, indicating no break, because that could have been season-ending ankle surgery or something along those lines, or maybe a prolonged absence, even more prolonged. So to hear a grade 2 sprain, like, obviously no laughing matter, and it's something serious that Tyler's going to have to continue to work through, but it's certainly much better than the worst-case scenario. And so I think it's absolutely good news, and it gives a clear timetable for Tyler to work through to come back, and for Miami to kind of step up in his absence.
So the walking boot is for 10 days. That's a doctor saying, hey, keep this on for 10 days, and then we'll take this off. He's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So that does not mean, for clarification, that he will be back in 2 weeks. It just means that he will be evaluated again. And even when NBA teams release these injury announcements, 2 weeks is like a rough estimate. If they feel like he's ready to be reevaluated the day before, the day after, what exactly would be 2 weeks, then they'll go ahead and do that. 2 weeks from the MRI is Thanksgiving Day. So I have a feeling that he'll probably get reevaluated around Thanksgiving and maybe not even on Thanksgiving. But the Heat are going to be right in the middle of this road heavy stretch, 8 of their next 9 games on the road. They'll actually be, if let's say, they'll probably be in New York at that point, preparing for their back-to-back against the Knicks and then the Nets for the Friday after Thanksgiving and then the Saturday of that weekend. I don't see, let's say even Tyler Herro is like ready to go 2 weeks from now, roughly. Doctor says, hey, you're cleared for game action. Go ahead. Have fun. I don't think that the Heat would bring him back for 2 road games on a back-to-back set in New York. At that point, they'd probably say, hey, work out at the facility, get ready. Yep. We'll be home for a game against Milwaukee on the 28th. And David, that's the game that I'm sort of like optimistically circling on my calendar, November 28th. That's a Tuesday at home against the Milwaukee Bucks. Also happens to be the first or the final game of the in-season tournament in terms of the group stage action.
Yeah, so I agree. We were talking about it before we started recording, just looking at the schedule. It just seems like it makes sense. Like, Tyler's not going to travel with the team. 8 of the next 9 games on the road, they're going to be gone. He might be there depending on how he feels when Miami comes back next Wednesday to take on the Brooklyn Nets at home. It's that one game that's sandwiched in between 4 games on the road, the next 4 games on the road, then that game in Brooklyn, here in Miami, and then 4 more games on the road, including those 2 in New York that are on a back-to-back set. So I would not expect him to travel with the team. We'll see, probably do some light work on the bike, things of that sort, just to kind of stay in shape. Some shooting drills, things of that sort, once he's able to walk around a little bit more comfortably. And he's got a family here. There's no reason for him to go traveling with the team at this point, as much as that is a bonding experience.
In Miami to take the MRI, so he's not going to go back to wherever they are.
If it was a broken hand or something, but you don't want to be walking around these cities, having to walk up and down stairs and things of that sort.
Or be on planes. I know they get like the fancy planes now, but even still, you don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, so, I mean, that game against the Bucks, that is, as you said, the optimistic best case scenario is that he would be able to come back. And that's if everything goes perfectly smoothly and he's able to continue his workouts and he's just back to full strength or as close to. And we won't know, as you and I were talking about it as well. We were kind of just laying out the whole process. They'll probably, after that back-to-back set in New York, they'll have that next Sunday, the 26th off. Then they'll have a practice on the 27th, and we'll get some kind of update from Eric Spoelstra. Again, best case scenario. So there's that caveat to consider. Spo will say something to the effect of like Tyler did some light work. He was able to scrimmage with the team or something. Again, very evasive.
There'll be a game time decision for tomorrow night against Milwaukee.
Right. That's right. They'll have shoot around the day of the game against Milwaukee. And then we still won't get any updates like Tyler's progressing, something vague like that. And then when somebody asks him, is Tyler going to be in the lineup? So I can't tell you that. And he'll evade the question. Some poor Bucks beat reporter is going to make the mistake of asking Eric Spoelstra if Tyler's going to be starting tonight. And Spoelstra's going to glare at him, say, I'm not sure yet. He's going through treatment. It'll be a game time decision. And then we won't know anything until a half an hour before tip-off when suddenly Tyler will be in or out of the lineup.
And then he returns against the Milwaukee Bucks, the final game of the group stage of the in-season tournament. The Heat and the Bucks at that point are tied for the number one spot in their group. And Tyler Herro hits the game-winning shot over Damian Lillard, and everybody's happy. So it's the most optimistic, most rosy version of what happens here. If he doesn't return in that game, though, the Heat have two more home games after that. Thursday, November 30th against the Pacers, and then December 2nd, that's a Saturday, against the Pacers and sort of that baseball series thing. Then a game in Charlotte, and then a bunch more games at home after that in the middle of December. So look, I think that's sort of the window, right? I would say is that first game, probably Milwaukee on November 28th to early December, is probably what we're looking at in terms of a return for Tyler Herro, which again is way better than we thought. If it was something higher than a grade 2, even a grade 3 sprain, that tends to be like 4 to 6 weeks. You know, and when you get higher and higher, we're talking about multiple months at that point. And so for this to be a grade 2 and watching that injury back, and I'm not sure why
90-degree angle.
David,
yeah,
absolutely. It was 90-degree angle, and he just collapses right away, talks to the bench, hey, I'm done. This is bad. You know, and so it could have been way worse.
Did you see his quote afterwards in the game? He said, I've heard some crunches.
Ooh.
Like, I heard some crunches in your ankle. Like, nobody wants to hear that. I mean, that
crunches from any part of the body.
right.
So,
no,
it wasn't good. It wasn't good looking, but considering how bad it looked, this is when that report came in, David, when we got the email from Miami, I was like, grade 2. Like, wow, 10 days in a boot and then evaluated in 2 weeks. Again, who knows when he's actually going to come back, but so far the news has been good after an injury that looked pretty bad.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the headline on the press release could have been Tyler Herro undergoes season-ending surgery. So I mean, that's the best case scenario completely. I mean, you know, it's tough because Tyler had been so important to what Miami has been doing and a big part of just helping keep them afloat over the first 8 games of the season. Miami, you know, now has to find a way to replace his offense.
We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. We do have 9 games that we're looking at without Tyler Herro, probably at minimum. It could be a little bit more, but if we're circling that Milwaukee game, I think we got a plan for 9 games. You and I talked about this in the post-game show after the Memphis win. If they can go 3-6, 4-5 during that stretch, I think that would be a major win for the Miami Heat. But again, Tyler Herro, to your point, more important than ever to the Heat. We're going to tell you why after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Look, we spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits, even injury reports. And I'm thankful for the connection we have. And today, I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? Bring on extended travel. Bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue because you are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, or Revatio prescription. And this is possible because of our friends at Jase Medical. So go online right now at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com to get your 12-month supply of your daily medications. Remember to use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jase. I'm so thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half just to have them. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply, and I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily medication, go to Jase Medical, that's JASE medical.com, and see if it's offered for you. Remember to use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase at jasemedical.com.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Every day, make sure you're tuned in on Monday for our reactions to this weekend's games without Tyler Herro. It's not going to be easy for the Heat. I've got some stats here that I want to get to, and they show, I think, just how hard it is going to be to replace Tyler Herro. And the first one here is plus 15.2, and that's what the Heat score every 100 possessions more with Tyler Herro on the floor. This is according to Cleaning to the Glass. So they are 15.2 points per 100 possessions better on offense with Tyler Herro than without him. That is a dramatic number, David, and it makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, for all the concerns about Miami's offense, and they've been valid, the one bright spot, or at least the most consistent bright spot aside from Bam Adebayo, has been Tyler Herro and his shooting, the way he breaks down opposing defenses, the shot selection, the opportunities that he creates for himself and others, also with his playmaking. There's so much that he's responsible for now in terms of the larger role that he's embraced and thrived in this season. So I think that number is pretty jarring there. I don't know that we've ever seen that large a disparity when it comes to just one player on off numbers like that. Certainly not over the last couple of years. Not even, Jimmy Butler maybe in the postseason. I don't know that we ever really
would be the only thing, right?
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
The last time anything even came close to that was probably like LeBron in 2014. Honestly, more specifically, the offensive rating with Tyler Herro, 111.2. So 111.2 points for every 100 possessions. That's what the Heat score when Tyler Herro is on the court. When Tyler Herro is not on the court, 96.
Oh,
96. That's very bad. It's so bad that it would be last basically every year since 2016 in the NBA in offensive rating.
I'm hearing like round ball rock playing in 1990s NBA basketball when you tell me there's an offensive rating of 96. This is Heat Knicks in the playoffs, final score 82-81. Real barn burner.
Pretty much. That's the difference between the 15th ranked offense in the league, which is sort of Miami's goal this year, and the 30th ranked offense. Like I said, dead last in the league, and not just this season, but in like forever. The half court is going to be an issue too, David. It's not like the Heat were lighting scoreboards on fire before this, even with Tyler Herro, but it's going to get worse. And that's the tough thing here. In the half court, they were scoring 94.2 points per 100 possessions in the half court, which is sort of home. It's not great. You'd like it to be better, but it's not as bad as what it's been without Tyler Herro. And that's 85.4. And I made a joke in my piece for All You Can Heat. Like, I think Nickelback could score 85 points every 100 possessions in the half court in the NBA. Like that is so bad. That is so bad.
Why Nickelback? Just because Jimmy Butler likes him?
Yeah, I feel like it's a Heat related joke.
Is it Nickelback?
He likes Nickelback.
He likes everything apparently.
If you're trying to, as a writer, David, you should know this. If you're trying to just come up with a reference, you got to find some sort of anchor on the reference, and that's the best I had.
I hear you.
What rock band do you think could score more or less than Nickelback?
Oh, is it that Arcade Fire? That guy was always in the celebrity game. Like that guy, he was actually legitimately. He was a pretty good.
Maybe pick him up.
He's like a legit 6'4", but he was more like a center type guy, and world outside of the NBA, 6'4" guy who could probably play center, but he had some outside touch. I remember that much in the celebrity games. I don't know. It's been a while.
Great analysis. I appreciate that.
You brought up the Nickelback reference when none was necessary.
I was trying to make a point of how bad they are when Tyler Herro is off the court. Is like they might as well just be
Nickelback,
a pop rock band. Yeah, like that's kind of what their offense does.
Any
those
opportunity
numbers make sense. Those numbers make sense from the eye test, don't they? So far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty jarring there. How much he's responsible for.
I don't know how they're going to go about replacing him. We're going to get to some players here in a second that specifically need to step up. I think this says a lot about just how good Tyler Herro has been for the Miami Heat this year, though. And so before we get to like players that actually need to step up, I think it's worth considering like what exactly are they trying to replace here? And the number one thing I think of is just the shot creation. And you and I have talked so much about Tyler Herro's shot creation, his shot selection.
Right.
his shooting in general and the volume, and he's shooting as many shots as anybody in the NBA right now. He's making them in a decently high clip, at least for the Miami Heat and what they're considering. But I can't even believe these numbers that I'm about to read you. The three-point shooting is what they're really going to miss with Tyler Herro off the court. He's made 61 threes this year, highest on the team by a pretty decent margin. The Heat as a team have made 257 three-pointers so far this season. Tyler Herro is responsible for almost 24% of Miami's made three-pointers. And I think this number is even more jarring. He's responsible for a quarter. Those are the three-point attempts. He's responsible for a quarter of the makes that the Heat have from three-point range. More than a quarter.
Probably 26%. 26%.
Yeah, it is crazy, and it is not going to be easy to replace. Just that specifically, not to mention the fact that, hey, when the shot clock is running down, there's 7 seconds left. Just give it to Tyler Herro, let him create a shot, let him go to work. Like, other than Jimmy Butler, I'm not really sure who on the roster is doing a whole lot of that consistently. So that's basically what we're talking about.
No, yeah, it's absolutely the case. And look, I mean, it has to be a group mentality. I think you'll start to see the kind of ball evening out in terms of offense. You know, you made a great point in yesterday's recap when we first heard the news. I think it probably becomes, if not necessarily a more egalitarian offense, it'll probably just be more similar to what we saw in the playoffs, where somebody will take on a larger role individually, but everybody else is going to have to step up incrementally as well. You'll probably see, as you said yesterday, the ball in Jimmy's hands a lot more often, similar to what we saw in the playoffs when Tyler went down. And then it's just going to be Tyler, Jaime Jaquez, Duncan Robinson, who is likely to replace him in the starting lineup, etc. But those shots, I mean, the shots that Tyler takes when the offense looks just dead in the water, and maybe we'll start to see the team kind of improve overall, because to some degree, he's bailed out a lot of Miami's poor offensive possessions just because he can create those shots. Because when the shot clock is winding down, he's probably your best bet to be able to make the shot. Maybe we'll start to see a little different, a variation. And
Eric Spoelstra is going to have to step in and just call more plays, I think, just flatly. It's going to be a lot more strategic than, hey, Tyler Herro, run this pistol action, kind of create some offense for yourself, go to town. You know, it's going to be a little bit more strategic, and hey, we got to run this pick, get the ball from here to there, that side to this side, just for a chance to open up some lanes here. So I think it's a little bit on Eric Spoelstra too to figure some things out. But I want to talk. It's gonna start with Jimmy Butler. He's got a usage rate this year of 23%. That's the lowest since joining the Miami Heat, and it's not close. It's been really low. We've talked enough about him getting off to a slow start. Last couple games, it seems to be a little bit better. I know efficiency-wise, it wasn't his best game in Memphis, but he was at least being a participant in the offense, which was not the case the first week of the season. Last season, he had a usage rate during the regular season, 25.6%. That jumped to 33% during that first part of the playoffs before his own ankle injury kind of took its effects on him, and he kind of had to play more of a lesser role in the offense as the postseason went on. 25.6% to 33% is a dramatic jump. That's basically like a Tyler Herro to a Russell Westbrook level of usage rate. You know, that's enormous. And so that might be what the Heat need, though, from Jimmy Butler. Maybe not quite 33%, you know, peak Russell Westbrook, James Harden levels of usage, but closer to that than where he's at right now, which is a 10% difference in usage rate this regular season.
So, I mean, just walk it through, right? Like, instead of putting the ball in Tyler's hands, it'll go directly from, you know, let's say a missed opportunity, even inbound the ball, go to Kyle, go to Jimmy, either one of those two, have them kind of initiate. We saw yesterday against Memphis, they were trying to pick up the pace a little bit, get some opportunities in transition baskets. I think we'll probably see more of that, even though Tyler's so good in the half-court offense. I think we'll start to see a lot more transition opportunities, as good as you possibly can get.
I would hope so. Yeah. I mean, the main sort of staple of Miami's offense this season has been the Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo two-man game, specifically the pick and roll, but even dribble handoffs and things like that flow into pick and rolls and stuff like that. And obviously Tyler Herro anchoring that second unit has been really important. They're going to have to find somebody else to anchor that second unit in the meantime. Maybe this is going to be a changed rotation for Eric Spoelstra as well. But if it's not the Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo pick and roll, we've seen a lot of Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry pick and roll stuff, small pick and roll, that kind of thing. But I think it's going to be a lot of Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo pick and roll, probably more than we've seen at any point this season.
Bam Duncan too.
Bam and Duncan also. I've got 4 more players that I want to talk about. 4 more players who need to step up in Tyler Herro's absence. We'll discuss that next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James, Travis Kelce, and a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made plus receptions. That makes a great combination. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy, so your entire entries, stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you've got a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return for the second, that player gets rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Just make sure you go to prizepicks.com/lockedon. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA and you get a first deposit match of up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LOCKEDONNBA. Use the code LOCKEDONBA. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. We already talked about Jimmy Butler and what he's going to have to do to help replace Tyler Herro. And he's the main guy. It kind of just starts with him, and then it's sort of a trickle-down effect after that, isn't it, David? So we've seen the leap already from Bam Adebayo this season. 22.7 points per game. He's going to have to step up from a scoring perspective. But I'm looking at Bam specifically from a playmaking perspective now, too. He's averaging 3.4 assists. I would like that to get higher up to like 5-ish, right where Tyler Herro was averaging before his injury. That, like I said, the Tyler Herro Bam Adebayo pick and roll was so much of Miami's offense, but I do think that there's still some untapped room there for Bam to just run stuff from the high post, from the top of the key, that just makes it easier on everybody else, where he could just control the offense almost Nikola Jokic style, have guys cutting and screening and dribble handoffs behind him and all that stuff. I think there's room there. And now that Tyler Herro does not need the ball in his hands because he's not playing, there's more space then for Bam Adebayo to have the ball in his hands in more of a playmaking role. We're going to get to one other guy who I think is going to be tempted to take on a more playmaking role, who I'm going to actively push against doing that. I think Bam has to be the playmaker here.
It makes a lot of sense. I think we're going to see that, especially, again, with the Duncan combination. But, you're going to have a lot of off-ball actions, some backdoor cuts, things of that sort. I'd like to see Jimmy kind of incorporate that with Bam, again, in the high post, kind of being the hub of the offense the way he was more often than not a couple of years ago. He still has possessions like that, but I think it's weaned a little bit less.
Yeah.
I think we'll start to see an uptick on that. So that's a good point there. And just, again, with Miami's depth being what it is, you've got a lot of different options. Haywood has shown that he's a good off-ball cutter. I think Jaime Jaquez, if he gets an increased opportunity, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, he'll get some more of those cuts as well. There's a lot of potential there for Bam to take his game up to yet another level.
And then
out of curiosity, how do you think, can he balance the aggression that we've seen from him so far this season with this new added responsibility of being a playmaker? That's something I'm kind of curious about.
Somebody's going to have to set him up, so I think it's going to be more Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo pick and roll. I'd really like to see them just lean into that. Just, hey, get rid of the clutter here. Take your 2 best players, put them in an action together, go to town. Enough. You don't have to get crazy. You don't have to really with Tyler Herro gone, again, if there was a positive from last year's playoff run, is that it just cleaned up the pecking order in Miami's offense. It's very clear now who Miami's best offensive players are. It's Jimmy Butler and it's Bam Adebayo and everybody behind them with Tyler Herro out. And so you just take your 2 best offensive players, put them in a pick and roll together, and just let magic happen, And I think I would like to see more of that. So that could help Bam get those opportunities, but it could also help Jimmy Butler get those opportunities, the 2 of them together. Meanwhile, speaking of both of them, going back to that stat we had on Tyler Herro's 3-point shooting, we've seen Jimmy Butler now take 4 3-pointers in back-to-back games. Bam Adebayo took a 3-pointer 2 games ago. More 3-pointers from both of them. The Heat need it. They absolutely 100% need it. It's not like a fun little option, cherry on the cake type deal anymore. They need these guys to shoot some 3-pointers. It's not even debatable. They have to have it. So
no doubt.
Here's the other guy that I hinted at before.
Hmm.
Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry might be tempted to say, hey, Tyler's out. I'm the captain now. I need to set the table for everybody. I need to get everybody going because Tyler Herro's not here anymore. And I would push back against that. And I would say, absolutely not. What the Heat are losing in playmaking, definitely some from Tyler Herro, but they are losing a lot in just points scored. And Kyle Lowry last night had 17 points against the Memphis Grizzlies. More of that. That's what they need from Kyle Lowry. And I think that's an encouraging sign that once Herro went down, Kyle Lowry started shooting more. He took a season-high 7 3-pointers in that game. More of that. Less shooting, or less facilitating, more just shoot the ball. Just shoot the ball. If Bam and Jimmy are running the offense, when the ball gets swung to you, let that thing go.
Yeah, that's easier said than done. I hear what you're saying. I do tend to think that Kyle is too smart to monopolize the defense. I mean, the offense at this point. So I know that he's going to try to take on a larger role. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out, whether it's just in terms of more shot attempts or, to your point, more or less facilitation on offense. That's an interesting point to watch for in the next game they play there. I just also don't want to see an uptick in his minutes. Like, I mean, Miami's best chance at success down the road is for a healthy Kyle Lowry, and he's already playing a whole hell of a lot of minutes. I think he's playing like 4th most on the team so far. That's probably more than he probably should be playing at this point. So I don't know whether or not without Tyler gone, like, does he play even more in addition to taking on a larger role in the offense? To your point, does he even play more minutes as well? That could be a detriment. This kind of has a cascade effect too. Like, Tyler goes out, now everybody's minutes play, everybody has a larger role. Does that have some wear and tear down the road? Especially
saw this early in last season with Lowry, right? They were dealing with a bunch of injuries, specifically to Jimmy Butler, and he had to play more minutes.
Yep.
Sucks, but that's what they need. And I don't think I'm arguing for him to have a bigger role on the offense. I think I'm arguing the opposite.
No. Yeah.
So, but we'll see. And look, that's sort of the formula here, right? When Tyler Herro went down in the playoffs last year, Gabe Vincent became a guy who was able to attack closeouts, attack bent defenses, just sort of be the secondary ball creator in pick and roll and things like that. You're going to have to run that kind of stuff. And Kyle Lowry's going, I'm not saying that he's not going to run any offense. I just don't think he should have an uptick in frequency, in other words. And when the ball does come to him, he can't really afford to swing it to Tyler Herro and just let him do it because Tyler Herro ain't playing anymore. So he's just got to take the shots, right? So he can't afford to be choosy. Let's get to Duncan Robinson.
Mm.
You're going to like this.
Okay. Yeah.
People like me have been on here saying, hey, just shoot the threes, man. We love the 2-point game. It's a great story. Hey, that's really cool. You can make a layup now. You could dribble more than twice in a straight line. Like, it's all good. But I've said, hey, just like rein it back a little bit. Like, just tighten the ropes a little bit and just keep shooting the threes. Keep doing the things that get you paid. But the one thing that you are absolutely elite at, keep doing that. But David, now that Tyler Herro's hurt, you got to let that Bronco buck, baby. You just got to let him off the leash, let him go, let him do all the things that he wants to show. I think Duncan Robinson should let this be a showcase of his talents and all the things that he's doing well. Hey, I can attack the right side of the rim. I can finish with my right hand. I can do all these things. I could be a pick and roll guy now with Bam Adebayo. All of that stuff, it's very similar to when Tyler Herro went down last year and Max Strus was able to showcase some of his talents, got that big payday from Cleveland this offseason. Duncan Robinson is a better three-point shooter than Max Strus was and is, and he's probably a better passer than Max Strus was or is. And defensively, there's still some concerns with Duncan Robinson, but I'm not really concerned about the defense right now because there's so much offense that they have to make up for with Herro out. Go ahead, Duncan Robinson. You will not hear me complain about your shot selection in the least while Tyler Herro is out.
No, I don't buy that either. I think you're going to complain about it.
Probably the next game.
Well, welcome to the right side of things. You've been on the wrong side for a while now, but it's good to hear you kind of come around and realize, look, he couldn't have taken on this larger role that we expect from him if he hadn't been slowly developing that versatility over the last couple of seasons. So now that he's shown that capacity, I think he's going to be much more comfortable and adept at being able to show those new wrinkles in his offense. Just create a different opportunity. It's going to be able to make baskets. He puts a lot of ripper. I think he might be, I don't know, aside from who, I don't know who's put as much rim pressure as Duncan has over the last couple of games. Like his ability to put the ball down, drive to the rim. It's not a lightning speed or anything like that, but he's still been pretty effective in that role. So I'm glad that you're kind of coming around to that, because you're absolutely going to need something to.
There's stipulations. It's while Tyler Herro is out.
You
So
don't
I
get
wouldn't say I've fully come around, but
you don't get to make those stipulations. He's got to do it. Like there's no other opportunity.
I know right now until Herro comes back. He's averaging 9.5 field goal attempts per game right now. That might have to get closer to like 18 or 19. Like I'm not even kidding.
Field goal attempts? No way. No, I think he's going to probably go like 13, 14. I'd say it's probably like a 8 and 6. 8 and 5, 8 and 6, like 8 3-pointers versus 5 maybe regular 2-point field goal attempts. I
guess between him and Lowry ramping up his shot attempts, and then I guess Jimmy Butler also.
Yeah. Duncan is not gonna be what you just said about Kyle. He's not gonna be like, I'm the captain now. He's not gonna be like, oh no, give me the ball, I'll take you to the promised land. Like he's gonna get his shots, but he's
15 is the sweet spot, I think, for Duncan. Get up closer to that. You're gonna need it. I'm not like, this isn't like me just like, they're gonna need it. Somebody's got to take these shots. Tyler Herro is taking 21 shots a game.
So what are they averaging now in shots per? I mean, it's like
Duncan's at 9.5.
No. I'm saying that's a team league last in terms of shot attempts per game, right?
Well, they're near the bottom in 3-point attempts. I don't know what it is at shot attempts per game.
Okay.
I've got one more I've got one more guy for you. Okay. Josh Richardson. This is not a situation where his usage rate is going to increase, but with Caleb Martin still out and no timetable on his return with this knee injury, he's going to be in the rotation. He just has to be. There's no other options, and I know Heat fans have been really frustrated with him, and I get it. He's 10 of 33 from the field so far this season, 3 of 16 from 3-point range. The only thing Josh Richardson has to do is make those shots. He's gonna get the same amount of shots as it was before. You just got to make them. And so he's just the last guy that I have on my list in terms of guys who need to step up.
Yeah, I hope you're listening to this show, Josh. We the Heat Nation believes in you. Maybe they might be a little shaky in their confidence, but I think you might be a little shaky in your confidence as well. But I think there's a good opportunity there. By the way, the Heat third lowest number of field goal attempts at 86.3. I wonder where we'll be over the next 2 weeks when Tyler sits out due to injury. If they might drop all the way to last there. But
their pace is not going to increase. Tyler Herro is one of the few guys on this team that were actually pushing the pace early, taking shots early in the shot clock. So I don't know that the pace is going to improve. So they'll probably be right around that.
Can I just throw a couple additional names there? I don't know what their opportunity is going to be like, but I'm just kind of throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks there. But Nikola Jovic, does he get an amount of increased playing time now? I think it would probably
time.
Yeah, you're right. It would have to probably require an extra injury in the front court. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
there.
Drew Smith played against Memphis. Spo seems to trust him more than Jovic.
Because of his defense,
Yeah, because defense, and he's a ball handler, and Tyler Herro's down. But there's ways to goose the rotation a little bit, where you're giving more time to Jovic and maybe less time to a guy like Josh Richardson or Drew Smith. It could be an option, especially if they're looking for guys to just take shots. Like, again, Jovic is not shy to take shots, and I think that's a skill that they kind of need right now with Herro out.
Yes, and I'm also going to put this out there, and I know that you kind of shot it down yesterday, but I think R.J. Hampton might get a call up because, again, he's just another offensive player when they probably desperately need some offense. He might not be their best option, but similarly to what you said about Jovic, not shy about taking those shots. And I think he could, this is a good opportunity for him to show that he could be an NBA level player, not just a G League player right now.
We'll see. Who do you think runs the second unit with Tyler out? If they kind of keep the same rotation pattern where they kind of try to put one creator that anchors that Jaime Jaquez, Thomas Bryant, Josh Richardson's second group. Is it Lowry? Does it have to be Lowry? I don't really know the other option. Probably has to be Lowry.
Yeah, but how does that substitution pattern work? Like you were just talking about cutting his minutes down, or at least keeping his minutes down to where it currently stands. Not up.
You take Lowry out midway through the first quarter, where you were taking Tyler out, and maybe you put Josh in there.
It's going to be Josh,
and then bring Lowry back in towards the end of the first quarter or the beginning of the second quarter. That's probably what you do. I just don't know who. It can't.
Josh.
The only other option could be Drew Smith anchors that second unit. I just don't really see it. I think you need like an experienced, like real player to do that. I think it's going to be Lowry in that second unit.
I think it's gonna be Josh. And
Josh is already part of it.
Yeah, but you can kind of change it
who
around.
replaces Tyler? Who just I get? So in other words, you think somebody else replaces Tyler's spot, but Josh Richardson ends up running the second unit?
Running, yes.
Maybe that could be Jovic. Maybe it could be Drew. Maybe it ends up being Drew Smith, and he just sort of plays off the ball where he doesn't really do anything. But whatever. All right. We'll see what happens. We've got 2 games this weekend. We'll be back Monday with our reactions from that game and our reactions to what it is that the Heat really missed with Tyler Herro out. But for now, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcast app.